Hello everybody, welcome back to the Tranquila Studios. This is Jordan, and today I have a weather update for you guys because we have a potential for multiple tropical storms to develop over the coming week, and we also have a potential for some isolated to scattered severe weather and flash flooding over the next few days. So anyways, let's get straight into today's video. Today we have a large slight risk of severe weather across much of the Great Plains into parts of Montana. Our tornado risk is very low, although we could see an isolated tornado or two across western Nebraska, northwestern Kansas, northeastern Colorado, southwestern South Dakota, the northwestern Texas Panhandle, northeastern New Mexico, southeastern Colorado, extreme southwestern Kansas, and the western part of the Oklahoma Panhandle. Our wind risk is elevated today with a large 15% wind risk across much of the Great Plains into the northern plains. And then our 5% wind risk extends from northwestern Texas Panhandle all the way up to the Montana-Canada border into eastern Oregon. Our main threat for today will be hail. We have a 15% hatch hail risk across parts of the northern Great Plains, where you could see some scattered large hailstones, with some being up to baseball-sized layer today. Then for tomorrow, we have a slight risk of severe weather across western into central South Dakota and southwestern North Dakota. No tornado risk for tomorrow. However, we do have a 15% wind risk and a 15% hail risk, where we could see some scattered damaging wind gusts and some scattered large hail tomorrow. And then we have a day 3 marginal risk from northwestern Kansas into western Minnesota. And here's your probabilities, 5% across that whole area. And for the first time in a long time, we have a day 5 storm prediction center outlook, where we have a 15% risk of severe weather across central into northeastern South Dakota, southeastern North Dakota, and extreme western Minnesota, where you can see some scattered severe thunderstorms on Friday. Looking at the National Hurricane Center, we have Dexter. We'll talk about that in a minute after we go over the areas of interest. Here's your first area of interest, 50% chance in 7 days. This could potentially become a hurricane. First of all, but this will likely curve away from any land other than maybe Bermuda, but that's where we expect the really only impacts to be, and this hasn't really formed yet. It is moving off the coast of Africa, and it's going to become better organized over the next few days. And then here's our second area, 30% chance of development, and this could actually bring some impacts to the Carolinas, and it could actually make landfall potentially. This will form in a couple of days, and conditions are favorable for some development of the system. And finally, for the Eastern Pacific, we obviously have AE, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we also have this system, which, as you see, 10% chance at 2 days, a 60% chance in 7 days. This could become a tropical storm or a hurricane, so make sure you are prepared. Let me just do something real quick. There we go. Alright, now here's Dexter, 45 miles an hour. Right now, wind veils in 2 millibars. It's expected to peak at 50 miles an hour. Here's your wind speed probabilities. No winds are expected for land except maybe Bermuda could get some tropical storm force winds, but isn't likely as of now. And here is your forecast count. You can see it's going to move east, and it's actually going to turn post-tropical at peak intensity, which is something we do not see very often. As of now, we don't think this is going to become a hurricane, but there is still a small chance it could become a hurricane as it moves to the east. Now here's AE. This is expected to become a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm and could become a hurricane. Here's your wind speed probabilities. As of now, the highest wind speed probabilities for where its peak intensity is. And then here's your forecast come. It's expected to be tropical for at least 5 days. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next advisory you see it upgrade to a hurricane at its peak intensity. Now here's your Joint Typhoon Warning Center. We have Tropical Storm Bailu and Tropical Storm Croza and Tropical Depression 14W, which is very interesting, and I'll show you why in a minute. So here's Croza, expected to weaken over the next day or two before dissipating well to the southwest of these islands here. Now, this is why 14W is interesting, because this is a very rare system where it's only going to be tropical for one advisory. After this advisory, it's probably going to be considered post-tropical, and it may not even be tropical right now, because it doesn't really have a ton of convection ever been to the south of the system. And here's Bailu. This is so hard to pronounce. So right now it's expected to continue to weaken over the next few days before eventually dissipating. And then we have 90S, which I'll show you in a second. But here's Dexter, looking pretty well organized as of right now. And it is currently strengthening gradually. Here's Tropical Depression 8. It looks pretty good right now. It's not very organized, but it is decently organized at this point. Now here's Croza. You can see right now it's extratropical at this point, and it's going to dissipate eventually. Here's Bailu. You can see it's becoming more disorganized recently. Here's Tropical Depression 14. This is why many don't think it's tropical, because other than that one burst of convection there, it doesn't really have a lot of convection near the center of the system. It does have the convection to the left, but that's really not close to the center at all. And then here's 90S. This should form over the next day or two, but it is seemed to have weakened a little bit, and it has lost some of its convection recently, which is telling me that this may not end up forming as we expected it to. So anyways, that's all we have for today's video. The most important part is the fact that we could see a few tropical storms develop in the eastern Pacific and the northern Atlantic Oceans over the coming week. So, goodbye.